So this is the first of several videos that I want to put up where I'm going to try to give you a few ideas and suggestions that will help you get going on this year's topic. Now the topic is resolve that competition is superior to cooperation as a means of achieving excellence. And the first thing that I'll say is this is a topic that's been used before, not by NCFCA, but by NFL, by the public and private K-12 schools. They used it in September and October of 1990. Now, I was judging back then, and I saw a number of debates, and I heard a number of debaters talk about the topic. And there were some who didn't like it. There were some who thought that it was biased one way or the other way, and funnily enough, people thought it was biased on both sides, which is, kind of a good measure. But there were a lot of people who really enjoyed the topic because they said that it made them really reflect on what they were doing. It made them take their own methods and turn them back on themselves. And a year or two later, in about year or two after that was the topic, I remember talking to a lot of debaters who said that that topic had marked kind of a turning point in how they thought not only about debate, but in how they thought about their entire lives. And I thought that topic had a lot of potential, so I actually emailed it to the people in charge of coordinating topic selection for NCFCA. Now, I put the words "in education" on the end of it, but whoever received the suggestion took those words back off to reproduce the NFL topic, and that is what we have. And so what I want to do is I want to start off by recommending two books. These books, I think, are going to be useful enough that I think it would make perfect sense for you not just to go down to the library and check out a copy, but actually invest in owning your own copy. The first of these books is called No Contest, and it's by Alfie Kohn. Alfie Kohn is kind of an independent researcher. He's got an interesting history, but this book has become kind of a minor classic in the circles that talk about this kind of thing. The American Psychological Association gave it one of its Book of the Year awards in the year that it was published. And you'll find that it's cited absolutely everywhere. One of the ways that you can track down a lot of the literature that discusses the harms of excess competition is just to do a Google Books search for No Contest and his name. And some of the books that cite it will come up, and they contain a lot of valuable material. If you look at No Contest and look at how it's laid out, he goes into a lot of depth and backs up with a lot of research his claims that competition is very, very destructive, and that we have deluded ourselves in thinking that competition sharpens us and drives us towards getting the most out of the potential that we have. Now, another book that I think you ought to get a copy of is by David Light Shields, who's a professor of education at the University of Missouri St. Louis, and Brenda Light Bredemeyer, who's a professor of psychology at Notre Dame University, and the book is entitled True Competition. And when you open it up, one of the first things you'll notice is it was written as a rebuttal to Alfie Kohn. So these two books pretty much debate out the two sides of the topic. Now, I am by no means saying that you got these two books, you got the topic in a can, they're the only things you need to read and you're ready to debate. But I think that they're a very, very, very good start. And if you want to start thinking very intelligently about the interplay between the sides, I would read the one book cover to cover and then the other book cover to cover, and then proceed onward into more research and more material as the season develops. Now, the second thing that I want to do is I want to talk about some of the framework issues, some of the framework arguments that are going to crop up in a lot of debates, a lot of the division of ground and interpretation of the topic kind of arguments, because you're going to need to think about your position on either side. So what I want to do is I want to describe the issue and describe a little bit how it can be debated by both sides. And the first one, an argument that I guarantee you are going to hear over and over again, is the affirmative will say that the negative, by participating in the debate, tacitly admits that competition is not only valuable, but that it's worth a huge investment of time, and that the negative, by trying to win the debate, by trying to advance in the tournaments, by continuing through the elimination rounds, if they are fortunate enough to clear, they are admitting through their actions that competition is the proper way to achieve excellence. As a matter of fact, when this was the NFL topic, there were a few debaters, mostly very inexperienced ones, who got very frustrated at this argument and would say things like, this argument spoils the entire topic. This argument is unbeatable. Well, it's far from unbeatable. There are several angles that the negative can work in coming back, and it's certainly not a bad thing that the negative, who has the longer speech time and therefore can beef up their explanations a little bit, they are the ones who have to come to terms with this argument. One of the first things you can do on the negative is you can point out that debate is only at its full measure of excellence when it's practiced ethically, when we handle our research responsibly, accurately representing the author's conclusions and not misrepresenting them, accurately describing our opponent's arguments and not distorting them, speaking of our opponent respectfully and not in a way that's hostile or disrespectful. And the thing is, all of those ethical codes, all of those shared assumptions, those rules that govern how the activity is practiced, those are all a form of cooperation. If we don't agree on what the rules are, and if we don't collectively police ourselves and each one do their part to make the debate excellent, then the kinds of unethical practices, the kinds of practices that are destructive to debate, start to creep in. So the negative can say, my esteemed opponent, who's doing a very good job of debating ethically, is cooperating with me in making this debate something that we can be proud of. Now, obviously, there are affirmative answers to that, but it's a way into the debate. A second way into the debate is for the negative to point out that this contest that you're involved in, there's a reason that it cuts off at about age 18. There's a reason that it is an educational activity that students practice, but that there comes a time when tournament debating ends because people outgrow it. One of the things the negative can point out is throughout the rest of your life, you're going to continue to debate. You'll debate your husband or wife over how you want to raise kids, handle money, issues of huge importance. You'll debate with friends, and you'll debate with mentors about big, unanswerable questions about meaning in life, about right and wrong. And you can point out that that is a higher form of debating. That's a form of debating that is nearer to excellence. One analogy you might use, you might talk about a mother trying to get two children to clean their rooms and saying, we'll make a contest of it, and the one who's done the quickest and does the best job gets to go have ice cream. Well, compare that to an adult who cleans up their living space because they know that it needs doing. Which one is going to do the more thorough job? Which one has the better motive? In other words, which one is closer to excellence? The fact that competition and a contest is built into these debates proves that these debates still need training wheels. They need an artificial form of motivation to drive the students toward putting forth their full effort, and that you will reach closer to excellence when that is outgrown and no longer required. Now, once again, this is something that the affirmative can quite easily answer, but it is a way into the debate. A third and final way into that debate, a little bit more academic. You can go to any good college library, and if you don't have a good college library near you, there are ways to find this online as well. There's an article in a scholarly journal in communication, Speech Monographs. This article ran in 1970, and it's by a professor by the name of Douglas Eninger. And before his retirement, he was the debate coach at the University of Southern California. His article is entitled Argument as Method. And he has this very developed, very deep, rich description of argumentation as really an activity of mutual self-correction, a way of building a relationship between the arguers. Each arguer takes on and accepts the burden of responding to what the other said. Each arguer opens themselves to correction. They admit that the other person has the right to correct them. And if you look at the article, and if you look at the way Eninger describes argument, he gives you a lot of tools to set it up and characterize it to the judge as something that's not inherently, essentially competitive, but really involves a huge measure of cooperation. So, that first issue is the negative doomed to lose because the fact that it's a debate proves all the participants do value competition. Well, no, of course not. There are many ways the negative can respond to that, and the debate can go from there.